Aloha, welcome to Chuck Furuya Uncorked. We're shooting our second episode of something that we've been kind of working on for a little bit, which is fine wines and local grinds. And our special guest today is Ola Rapozo. Is your last name?
Rapozo.
Rapozo.
It's okay, everybody get them wrong.
He's the creator and founder of Fitted, which is a streetwear brand out of Hawaii. Real influential in the community here. So we really thank you for coming on.
And he knows everybody.
Yeah.
Jesus Louise, man. Here I am, this guy that lives in a little corner of the world. This guy, he gets around, man. And where's Micah? He's the guy that's supposed to, this is his idea.
Micah is Ari's boss. This is like his little skit. But so Ola wanted to do a food and wine pairing with Helena'S Hawaiian food, which is in Kalihi. If you want to tell us a little bit about Helena'S and why you like it so much, why that's your like special place.
There's a couple of things about Helena'S. It's near and dear to my heart. One, I used to go with my dad, and when it was on King Street. So as a little younger lad, I remember the flavors. They've been there 1942, I believe.
Yeah.
They've been around for a long time. And then so Auntie Helen, she used to work. I remember the first time I walked in there and seen all those melamine like bowls, the turquoise.
That's what I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, in a small little place. And so when I was going to fashion school,
little booths. She had little booths.
Yeah, she had the small little booths and the table, and you could see them cooking. But I used to go grab food for like my classmates when I was in college, and they're like, "Oh, this food is good," and I never like really had a keen understanding that it was like exceptional Hawaiian food.
Yeah.
I always just thought Hawaiian food was Hawaiian food. As I got older, I started to, enjoy the food, as you can tell. And I came to find out that this is quite the cuisine from Helena'S. So Craig took over when Auntie Helen retired, and I've been going there ever since. We built our business, in fact, by our little lunch meetings, Renee and I. I used to work at Tory Richard, and Tory Richard was 2-3 blocks away. So I'd sneak away on my lunch break, meet Renee, have some ribs, and go back to work and not try to fall asleep.
Tory Richard has a warehouse over there? So?
Yeah, they moved recently, I think in the last couple of years, but it was like this is when they were on King Street. So, actually, they just moved. Yeah, that's right. They had moved. I think they've been there 22 years now in their current location. So yeah, I've been.
I feel like Helena'S is like Hawaii's soul food.
Oh,
like if we don't really have a soul food code, but this is,
So just to give you some light from a different perspective, Helena'S also won a James Beard Award. So they're world recognized for, authentic, like what you call soul food. Mm-hmm. I mean, ethnic foods. They're world famous. Winning a James Beard Award. I mean, look how many famous chefs in Hawaii have not. Yeah. Helena'S won, And the other thing that I think is very important, so I don't know if you remember, but we did a TV show way back when, I don't remember how long ago, with Emmy Tumenbang at Emmy's Island Moments. It was called Local Grinds.
Yeah. I do
and
remember that.
It was 4 chefs, Alan Wong, Roy, Jean-Marie Jocelyn, and Russell Sue from 3660, and myself and Emmy. We went in a limousine to go eat at their favorite restaurants. And so for the Hawaiian food side, it was actually Leong's Hawaiian Cafe. But the point of that show and the point of us doing this today, to me, the most important point is we got to try to give these small places
a voice.
These small that deserve one, especially. Otherwise all these restaurants are closing, the rents raise, all et cetera, et cetera. So the very fact that Helena'S is still there and still doing this, we got to drum up support from all of you guys, man. It's a very important time for Hawaii. You see all these major chains coming in from the mainland. This is more vital, in my opinion, to Hawaii now than ever. So that's why I think it's great that you chose this restaurant and that you chose specific foods, and you can walk us through. We'll throw in a few wines and let's see what happens.
Cool.
Solid.
What are we starting with then?
I think we should start with something light.
Yeah.
Light?
Well, I think we should start with something that has a little bit of sweet savoriness.
Okay.
Which is the luau, the he'e.
Hey. You go.
Okay. So yeah, you guys gotta tell me how this works. So I just take a bite.
Yep.
And there's different schools of thought, like whether you still want food in your mouth when you drink, whether you want to wait till after or wait till before. So it's totally up to whatever you're comfortable with.
Okay.
Just don't want to leave the grease stains on your glass.
And then it's the first one.
Yeah, it goes left to right, yeah.
Here, Cully.
Do you want to move this white wine from the end?
I don't care.
Thing?
No, just leave it there. Cool.
Well, that was interesting because it's sweet. It's a little sweet, and then this is sweet. So it has like a kind of a interesting tone. It doesn't drop off.
Yeah. No, that's good.
Yeah.
Good thing. So you know what's the thing is, regarding the sweetness, to me that's what separated Helena'S food from the other one I mentioned, Leon's. Helena'S has a little bit of sweetness to their foods. So regarding sweetness, just so you understand how it works, if you drink a Coca-Cola, and the Coca-Cola will taste dry, correct? I mean, it will taste sweet, right?
Okay.
Coca-Cola is sweet.
Yep.
But if you eat a Snickers bar first, and then you drink the Coca-Cola will taste dry and bitter and gnarly.
Interesting.
So what I learned from that is whatever you drink has to be slightly sweeter than whatever it is you're eating. So this luau has sweetness to it. So we can't do Chardonnay or Cabernet. Well, you can if you want. You can do whatever the hell you want. But for me, if you're looking for something that's compatible or, that works, then you need to find a wine with a little bit of sweetness inside, in my opinion. That's just my opinion.
And what is this wine we're drinking right now?
This is a very unique grape variety for America, anyway. I mean, it's widely planted, but to see it bottled on its own is another story. It was one of the most widely planted white grapes in the world for a long time. It's called Malvacia. And if you smell it, it smells like lychee.
It kind of tastes like lychee.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a very aromatic grape, and most times it's made sweet. This one is medium dry to dry.
Interesting.
So it's just the aromatics. So these aromatics, what it does is it uplifts foods just like fresh basil or fresh Chinese parsley or fresh, herbs do. That's what this wine can do. It uplifts it. Then when you taste this wine, it's got a real lemon-lime edge to it. So it acts like a squeeze of lemon with food. When you squeeze a lemon over a fish, what does it do? It cuts to the fishiness. It cuts to the oiliness. It cleanses your palate between bites, right? So that's what this wine does. It's aromatic, and it's one of a kind wine as far as I'm concerned. I haven't had a wine like this from any in the world. This one comes from Monterey, California.
Monterey.
And what it does to me, is even though it's not as sweet as the luau stew is, it just gets your palate ready for your next bite. Like, it's like what he says, that spritz of lemon.
Sure.
That just cleans your...
I feel completely out of my league right now.
Bro, I'm learning too. I don't know shit, so I'm with you, bro.
Okay, so here's the thing. That's why I prefer you speaking first.
Okay.
And you were right on, by the way, just to let you know.
Oh, okay.
Your comments were right on. I could easily sit here. I normally don't like to be on these ones. That's why normally Micah's here. Because I don't want to intimidate anybody. But at the same time, I don't want you to sit there and look at it backwards later and say, frick, that guy never said anything.
Right.
And you're here to teach us.
Yeah.
And he can break it down very simple. Yeah.
I'm Haumana wine.
You're Hauna?
Haumana. Oh. Yeah. You start as a comedian.
That's why he's like that.
You don't want him to stop.
And I'm not into the meme shit, okay? I tell it like it is, bro.
Gotcha.
These guys are trying to convert me into memes. I'm like, what?
He didn't know what a meme was till 2 weeks ago.
Really?
So we've been...
Still don't know what I mean.
Yeah, we've been sending him down a rabbit hole. I mean, so what do you comment on this as a pairing with the luau and the Malvacia?
I like it.
I like it too.
I think the Malvacia uplifts it. I think it keeps my palate fresh and alive between bites. I like it a lot.
Exactly what you said.
Yeah.
No, I was interested in. I wasn't expecting anything when I took that sip, but it was almost even for me, where it was just kind of okay.
You said that, and you were absolutely right.
When you taste a bad pairing, it's this is the food and this is the one. Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
Okay, so try that same luau with the other wines and tell me what you think. then you'll learn what works and what doesn't work and why. It's not only looking at what's positive, it's also looking at the traits of the thing that's not positive.
I'm also very interested to taste the more fatty, greasy stuff, and what's a good pairing for that.
What does the rosé do for you, Ola?
It's good in songs.
I knew you were like that.
All the rappers talk about rosé. No, I honestly maybe had a couple sips of rosé in my life.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna find out right now. All those bubbles.
So it does have a little bit of bubbles, yeah?
Yeah, and it was interesting because I was coming off of a very ocean tone taste from the he'e.
Yeah.
And it went right into those bubbles. So that was kind of an interesting contrast.
So does this wine
Texture wise.
Do you notice more bitterness or anything with this wine after you eat the specifically the luau?
I didn't know.
Should I taste it again?
Yeah.
I'm just asking questions. There's no right or wrong.
I actually do like how the bubbles plays.
Yeah, I agree with him 100%. This guy's pretty right on.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool, man.
You don't say that about everybody, so it's not bullshitting you either.
I don't know about the hat, though. I'm just joking.
Yeah, because the Lao has a little bit of bitterness to it too.
So you like it together?
It's not horrible.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you.
Yeah. I wouldn't think they go together, but it's not bad at all.
I think it's kind of like the first pairing too, where it just gets you ready for you
for
can
the next
keep going
one.
back to it.
Does this have a little dryness in it?
Yeah, it's drier than the first one.
First one.
What do you think of this?
So I prefer wine number one with it because it lifts it up more. But I agree with you two guys. It's not a bad pairing at all. I could certainly enjoy it together. But understand, Ola, specifically pink wines, they come in all different styles. So not all rosés are the same.
Okay.
And no matter what wine you have, whether it's red, whether it's Cabernet Sauvignon, whether it's from California or France, all wines could be made dry, medium, medium sweet, sweet, depending on what the winemaker wants to do. So you can have a rosé that's sweet, dessert, bone dry. Just depends on what the winemaker wants to do. So most rosés, I would say, are darker in color. This is a specific rosé that I've only seen at one store here in Hawaii. Okay, and it's I love it because it's so light, amazingly light. It's not syrupy. It's not cherry, strawberry kind of shit. It's just light, so light and ethereal and minerally. It's one of a kind, and I love the fizz, like you guys noted.
Yeah.
And it's the kind of wine that you would drink at a cafe or a bistro somewhere in the countryside of Italy.
Okay.
Where you just eat the food and you gulp the wine. You don't sit there swirling, thinking about it. It's a country-style rosé from a family-owned winery. We talk about family-owned restaurants.
Yeah.
These are family-owned wineries. This one has been making, owned and farmed and owned their vineyard since 1900.
Wow.
Yeah, so and I just love this rosé. I think it's really
fantastic.
good. Yeah, and you know what? These two wines, less than $15 a bottle in a store.
Wow.
So that's the other secret that's really hard to find is good wines at good prices that are family owned and stuff like that. So that's also part of this exercise, whether it's the food or it's the wine, just to make people think of possibilities as opposed to going to the store and buying the same stuff.
Yeah, it's rather intimidating, when you go to let alone going to like a specialty store.
Yeah.
But
Just
even
seeing a
going to
wall
like
of wine.
Times and there's
Yeah.
like a
I
wall and you're just like, crap. What did I just dove into the wrong hole,
I agree with
like
you.
what am I supposed to buy right now? And then you look
1000%.
for the coolest labeling and the most
Exactly.
interesting name and then it's a shit bottle of wine, So
But I also think it's cool what you're saying about that this is, what you would see in like Mediterranean basin where it's not about wine pairing. It's just about eating the food and
Gulping.
slinging it back,
It's a way of life. Because if you think about it just historically, I'm just giving you things to think about. And maybe the listener might be interested as well. In the old days, I'm sure water wasn't safe to drink. So that's why wine, because it had alcohol, you'd have less issues with bacteria, et cetera, et cetera. So that's why people were brought up from a young age drinking wine because it was safer.
Wow.
Right?
Thank you for teaching me that.
And the other thing, if you think about it, especially with wineries like this that we're tasting today, the Romans went on this whole rampage and went around the world trying to conquer things. They loved wine with their food. So wherever they went and wherever they conquered, they planted vines because they wanted to make sure they had wine for the dinner. It's not this kind of wine. It's more fizzy. It's more light. It's fresher because it's not aged or anything. But still, they encouraged vines being planted all over Europe.
Wow.
So there's a lot of history in this whole thing.
Which you're into.
Yeah, I'm so into. You may not know that about me yet, but I'm a huge. I love storytelling. Like in my work, storytelling is how I communicate. I communicate through visuals, but it's always through storytelling. So I love any of those. How you can intertwine a story into something physical.
In a subtle way too is what I think Fitted specializes in.
Yeah,
like, it's like the stitching in your hat is an ode to something.
Yeah, this hat you don't like is actually.
No, I'm joking. I was just joking. It's
I
the
can tell you
beard.
a whole-
It's the
whole
beard.
story
Tell us
about
the
that.
story.
So this is it's called chiseled, but it's based off of a ko'i. So ko'i is basalt rock that's shaped into a tool, an instrument. But I like to think of it as ko'i is like our wheel. Not in it helped transport things, but it was the stone that built the refuse,
Other
right?
stuff.
Yeah. That's how we made our hale. That's how we made our wa'a. That's how we traveled across the ocean. So without ko'i, we probably wouldn't have had the technical advances of observing stars and birds and things like that. So this typeface was built with ko'i as it has sharp edges and it's shaped like a ko'i. So
Well, that's a cool story.
yeah, it's a small story, but okay,
Cool.
let's jump into
The whole thing about these fonts and all these different styles, right on. Right on, bro. Okay, so let's move to the next dish. What do you recommend next?
We haven't did the
okay,
the
go.
red
Go,
or the
go with the red. Sorry.
Okay, so next is this red. That was interesting too.
It was. I actually think that's my favorite so far.
I was gonna say it has like a little bit more layers to it as it hits. Like there's different tones, whereas these were more like even.
Yeah.
This one this was even. This had the burst of bubbles, and this was like kind of like had different.
And it went with the wine, and the wine went with the food on all those different layers to me. Yeah, I think it's
Wow, that was interesting.
It has some savoriness.
That's the key to this
it,
wine.
yeah.
Where wine number one is more aromatic. It has perfume. It has that lychee. And then wine number two is the fizz. Wine number three is savoriness and lightness. So for a red wine, so just to let you know, Ola,
My favorite thing so far.
this wine the grape is Pinot Noir, but it's from Germany. So instead of big and lush and ripe and opulent, like you see from California, Oregon, etc., look how light this wine, just in color, look how light it is. And that's because Germany is a very cold growing area. So the grapes don't get as ripe as they can in California or other parts of the world. So that's why I specifically chose this, because I think with this food, we don't need a big, heavy, oaky thing.
Sure.
Alcoholic.
I was going to ask you if we're talking about climate restrictions, does the grape retain its flavor because it has to sort of insulate itself? So instead of growing bigger and plumper, it sort of does the opposite thing where it constricts itself, but it concentrates more of the flavor.
Okay, so to me, what happens is something very different. That may happen, but that's not the most important thing to me, is that when you consider that wine is made from grapes, which is a fruit, when you look at fruits, it's really about, especially when it comes to texture and all that stuff, it's really about sweetness and acidity, sourness balance, sweet and sour. Okay, so to give you an example, you look at a green pineapple, right?
Okay.
Sugar is low, acid is high, it's sour. When you look at that same pineapple, it's orange, sugar is high, acid is low. That's why it's so sweet. Either case is too extreme. So you want something where essentially the acidity is just a little bit higher than the sweetness. So that's why shave ice, syrups, for instance, if you make it too sweet, you can only have a couple bites. After that, you go like that, right? Same thing when you buy a lemonade.
Yeah.
If the lemonade is too sweet, you can't drink it. But if it's too tart, it's gnarly too. So it's all about that
Balance.
finding that balance of just a little bit more acidity. So that's what's more important in understanding grape ripeness. Okay, that's stage number one.
Okay.
You want to hear stage number two?
Yep.
You sure? It's pretty heavy.
Yeah.
Okay. So, as a wine grower, not a grape grower, as a wine grower,
What's the difference?
grapes you're just growing for production.
Gotcha.
So the more you can grow on an acre, the better.
Okay.
When you grow for wines, you have to understand balance is very critical. So where is that point where the vine is saying something about the soil, about what it wants to do? So it's a very different, it's a more selective.
Like not overproduction.
Yeah,
of
it's
the
not
vine.
overproduction. It's about listening to what the vine wants to say. Okay, so as a wine grower, the two things I'm going to focus on essentially is sugar ripeness, and the other thing I'm going to focus in on is what's called physiologic maturity. They're two separate things. So let me explain to you simply what that means. When sugar ripeness happens fast, the grapes don't hang on a vine as long. You have less physiological maturity. So many people believe that if you want to make world-class wines, you somehow slow down the sugar ripeness so the grapes can hang on a producing vine more and more, so you have more and more physiological maturity. You got it? It's two different things. That's why if you this how it applies in Hawaii. Where is the finest lychee from? Hilo and Wahiawa, people will tell you. It's cold. It's cooler than other places. So it takes longer to ripen. You know, where's the best pineapple from in Hawaii? Kapalua, way up in the mountains. Not even, it's better than Hali'imaile because it's way up. You know, I worked there. And if you look at the difference between up there and down below, 6 to 8 weeks difference.
Really? Wow.
So the pineapple hung on a plant for 6 to 8 weeks longer, so more physiological maturity, even though the sugar levels is the same. And so that's the more important point to answer your question, is understanding those two relationships, sugar and acid, and then sugar and physiological maturity.
Beautiful.
Wow.
Wow. That was dope.
That was dope. That's the first
you
time
for
I've
sharing.
ever heard that from him as well. So-
Physiological
Maturity. So if you look at that Pinot Noir, that's why it's Germany. So Germany traditionally is one of the coldest wine growing regions in Europe. I mean, for one of the most prominent, regions. And so Germany, they're harvesting October, November, whereas California is harvesting September. So you're talking about 1.5, 2, 3, 2.5 months longer hang time. So more physiological maturity without the ripeness, dark color, without the alcohol, without the glycerin, and all the richness. That's why I selected this wine.
Wow.
And here's the other thing, Ola.
Beautiful.
I bought this at Artfield Kahlua as well, $14.49 a bottle.
Wow.
All the way from Germany, $14.49 a bottle at Artfield Kahlua. I don't mention stores to try to steer business or anything, but most stores aren't going to hassle and carry this kind of wine. So I want to make sure that I clue you guys in so you can go to these stores. So if you want to try these kind of wines, there's only certain people that are going to hassle to get this kind of wine. That's why I talk about the stores. I'm not trying to endorse anybody. I'm just trying to say.
No, I love your explanations, and I love your fervor for like the difference.
Yeah.
The
in something that's
details.
minute, or that we would think is
Right.
minute, but
like
it's
I
not.
would think Germany gets so cold that there's some retaining issues with it being like once it gets past November, like is the grapes frozen now?
Exactly.
You know?
No, it's a good question. So let me tell you this. So pre-1990, let's say, Germany as a wine growing region was lucky if it would fully ripen only 2 or 3 vintages out of every 10.
Wow.
So imagine having a restaurant and you only open 2 nights a week, maybe 3.
Yeah.
You ain't going to make it.
Yeah.
So Germany only had 2 or 3 vintages out of every 10 that fully ripen. So since 1988, just to compare, we've essentially had a ripe vintage every single vintage. That's how much the climate has changed. That's what people don't understand. It's freaking nuts.
And that's just a construct of natural, just the climate changing?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's how much it's changed. It's same thing with Barolo. She was showing you a bottle of Barolo just before we started filming. Same thing over there. Yeah. Only 2 or 3 vintages out of every 10 would fully ripen. Now it's every single vintage.
Wow. And what happens is the wines are becoming bigger.
And alcoholic, more rich, more... even I just was reading an article this afternoon, because you can sign me up with all those groups. And
I'm even having Dad on Facebook wine groups trying to promote the podcast.
Wow.
So he told
Got you working, yeah.
He told me 1 hour a day. I'm like on that thing at least 5-6 hours a day now. Wow. And so I was reading this article
call those
about
rabbit holes.
Does it make me happy? It's a hair-raising experience. So they were talking about Bordeaux and how they have to plant new grapes now. They just got approved 6 new grapes because times have changed.
Yeah, wow.
So what you're saying is the complexity of their batches or their vintage tastes different than their new
before.
stuff, right?
Because
even it's the same process, same dirt, but things are changing.
Absolutely, bro. It's scary.
Wow.
Yeah.
So would that be a good thing? Or it would just have to be something that's adaptable.
You have to
each
adapt.
vineyard has to adapt.
You have to adapt. So there's no one answer to it. There's all these people are doing all these crazy things now. Wow. They have to react. They have to do things.
So if like a vintage brand had all this provenance, did I say that word right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. If they had,
not bad for
from
Kahlua.
Kahlua. Yeah.
That's why you're like that.
That's exactly why I'm like that. How do they pivot? Well, I wouldn't say pivot, but how do they maintain their provenance or
while they're experimenting?
They're experimenting with this new, like they have to catch up, right? Like, but every year I'm assuming the flavors and complexities change with each harvest of grapes.
That's a good question.
I don't know if I want to answer this, but I will.
For them, not me.
For you.
For you.
Okay.
So what's happening now is, like everything in our lives, everything is broken down and studied, piece by piece, segment by segment, even recipes now. It's down to a T.
Sure.
So that way your hamburger can taste the same in Korea or in Rome. It's all about sameness. It's about creating consistency. Right? And so that's part of the thing. So in the winemaking world, as an example, everybody's using the same kind of vine material, like Chardonnay, Cabernet. It's the same set of vines. So the best way I can describe that to you, think about it as mangoes. Hayden mango, common mango, Piri mango, Chinese mango.
Hundreds, right? Different varieties.
So they're all focusing wherever they go and planting Piri mango. No other mango, only Piri. Wow. So what is the world seeing in terms of the category of mango?
Diversity of mango.
Yeah, there's no biodiversity. And the other thing that happens with that note as a sidetrack, so when a certain virus or bacteria or disease or pest who loves Piri mango surfaces,
everything gets wiped.
That's why if you look at the papayas and all these different plants that are getting devastated here, it's for that very reason. Sooner or later, nature will catch up to you.
Yeah.
So if you don't have biodiversity, then you lose the whole everything because you've chosen to plant only certain things with certain genes and certain resistances and stuff like that. So that's a second subject. But the whole point I wanted to tell you is that everybody's using the similar vine material. It's all propagated stuff. So that way they can anticipate the results.
Sure, they're looking for consistency.
So it's harvested at the same degree of ripeness. It's fermented with the same yeast strains at the same temperature in stainless steel, and it's aged in the same oak barrels or not.
Right? So they've already done the research and development for some of these
They
things.
have people, instead of just letting the wine ferment, they have people that just, all they do is culture yeasts. So they understand what's going to happen.
Yep.
Because every yeast, something different happens. Okay. So by doing this, you're losing You're having the fast food hamburger. That's the bottom line.
Right.
It's not bad. It's because, again, it tastes the same in Rome. It tastes the same in Korea.
Yeah, I'd imagine there'd be people out there that's hunting for diversity or hunting for the variations of flavors.
I think our world is changing on that aspect.
Really?
So, to support that, if you look at the majority of the big box stores, what's the criteria of why they carry brands? It's based upon how many times it scans a week.
Yeah.
So if X amount of product does not sell, it's out and a new brand comes in with it: soap, olive oil, shampoo, wine.
Yep.
So that's what's happening. Who's the people that can afford the marketing dollars and telling the right story and all that stuff? It's not Helena'S. Right. I guarantee you that. They're doing how many covers? Whereas you look at Cheesecake Factory, they're doing 2,000.
By the way, that's another highest grossing Cheesecake Factory in the
But
country.
you get my point.
Yeah. Sure, yeah.
And so what's getting lost is, can't 20 of you go, instead of going there, go to Helena'S?
Yeah.
Can't 5 of you go to this restaurant? That it's the same thing with wines.
Well, the correlation
So the small wineries don't have a voice. So you're helping us out by giving a restaurant, a small family-owned restaurant, a voice. And we're trying to bring to the table small wine projects that
Need a voice.
Should have a voice. It's the same thing. And so you're good at telling stories and creating stories so people get it, that this is this font is this. Well, it's the same thing with that. This is Pinot Noir. It's not like California, Oregon, et cetera, et cetera. It's German, and here's why, but here's why it goes with the food. So we went food first, and then I told you a little background on the wine. Not wine first,
Sure.
and then food.
I think it's incredible that the correlation is there, because I feel like with Kale, and I feel like we sort of are gravitating towards nuance. Like we want to be more involved in quirkiness as opposed to consistency. Like I wanna taste somebody's, like if somebody's a master dough fermenter, right? They'll tell you that it's not about, they're looking for consistency, but it could be a bad day. The humidity could be, and their bread tastes different,
Or they could be loafing around. I don't know. Who knows, man? Or do a crummy job.
Right, but
with the quirkiness is realness and genuineness.
Yes. So I would say that I'd assume that there would be people searching for that within these small brand wines. Like if you're really into, and I'm not that person. I don't know the difference between the wines, but if I was that person and that really dove deep, which I am one of those people that
Dive deep.
Yeah, I'm a deep diver. I would search for that. Like that would be I'd be trying to stunt on my friends. Like, oh, hey, come, just sit down, try this.
Yeah.
Tell me why you like this.
Yeah.
I'll be looking for those nuanced brands.
Well, Ariana talks about it all the time, like, with her friends that like to go to farmers markets and stuff like that and pay attention to where their food is coming from. Then why aren't we extending that to paying attention to where our wine or anything, beer or whatever is coming from as well?
Exactly. I think we should think more small.
Yeah.
We have so much information nowadays. Anyone, you said Dad is jumping on Facebook for 5 hours, right? Looking for stuff. You can go down rabbit holes. So if we have all of this stuff available to us, instead of just jumping from thing to thing to thing to thing, let's envelop ourselves into these like really interesting, broad or interesting deep conversations where we can talk about the complexity of fry on this flower, or where this grape was. I love that. Like I think that narrative we should have more of those conversations as opposed to McDonald's and drive through.
Or I like this, I don't like that. You may not be exposed to it.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me throw this at you. Okay. So the bigger picture for me is that the reason why we started this podcast, actually, if you look at all three of your generations, right? The number one choice of beverage normally is spirits, liquor. A distant second is beer.
Yeah.
A distant third is wine. So if we don't do something, what's going to happen to wines in 10 years?
Yeah.
And so that's why it's very important for us. That's why specifically it's those two normally on the thing rather than me. I didn't want to be on these things because I feel I'm already outdated. We need people that the younger generation can relate to, and topics that they can relate to, and understanding, throwing in a meme every now and then.
You're like the grandmaster that can
Yeah,
break it
you-
down.
but
yeah.
we need
But you
you to
understand
teach
the
us
intent.
how
But
to.
you understand the intent
Yes.
is that
Yes.
that's what we got to do. So then you go, okay, how do you do it? Well, one of the things I learned about the Oprah Winfrey show is every one of her shows was different. It wasn't consistency every day. It was like this, like this, like this, like the Tonight Show or interviewing people or something. She always had different things. So that's what we're trying to do. You know, sometimes it's home wine tips for home use. Sometimes it's wines of the week. Sometimes it's interviewing a famous sommelier or a famous mixologist. Now he wants to bring forward, you know,
I mean,
foods and wines.
we eating Hawaiian,
Conversation, yeah.
Hawaiian food, having a conversation about wine.
Yeah.
I would have never thought about that.
And that's what's cool about wine and food together is it's like the ultimate setting to me for conversations like this, you know.
And I really want to spend some time. I'm sorry to say this, but is that I want her to speak more because her voice is more current and more pertinent today than mine. You know, and the way she words things, and you know, her. I don't want to say in front of her, but
Yeah, let's bring it back to here. Try this squid luau with that Riesling at the end as the last.
wow, just cut me off, huh?
Sorry, Pops. I'm just listening to.
No.
Producer says.
The producer says to just keep eating and.
Here, Ari, try this.
In your area,
luau.
do you guys understand the term diva?
Take that with you.
Right there. I looked it up, the word. There was a 3D motion picture of her inside there. Frick, it was scary, bro.
Oh, he's in there right now.
See, okay, with this one, is for some reason is this not as strong as the other ones?
Because lower in alcohol.
Well, the flavor, I feel the
luau
squid luau is overpowering it. It's too sweet. It's almost, and I mean it's a great tasting. Let me just double check. Let me just make sure. Yeah, there's a little bit of a acid hit at the end, but when I drank it after my bite, the lao or the luau was more prominent. Whereas these ones, it sort of took over when the luau dissipated.
Smoother transition.
Yeah,
between
yeah,
wine and
yeah,
food,
yeah. I mean,
I got it.
I could be wrong, but
No, that's good.
But was a different sensation.
So the reason why I included that wine, so remember I told you about the Snickers bar thing?
Yeah.
First, for number one, so the luau has sweetness inside, so that's number one. Number two is
See what
that,
you're
so there's different kinds of pairings. So imagine one type of pairing that's the most commonest is that when you go to a restaurant, you order fish or seafood. Somewhere on that plate, there's a lemon, whether it's a squeeze, a wedge, or it's in the sauce. So when you squeeze the lemon over a fish, what does it do? It cuts to the fishiness, it cuts to the oiliness, it cleanses your palate between bites. So that's kind of like what wine number one does. It has this lemon lime thing that cleanses your palate between bites. So that's one kind of pairing. The last white wine that you're having, you know, the slightly sweet one, it's only very slightly sweet. It's not super sweet. The best way I can describe how that works with the food, when you have something spicy or salty or sweet, this would be like biting into a cold apple or a pineapple.
Ooh, I can't.
So
Now I'm excited.
So it counters the heat or the spice. You try it with the chili pepper water.
Yeah, I
You'll
want to
see.
take a shot of that chili pepper water.
Yeah, and then
try
you'll
it.
see it just counters it, and it cools and soothes your palate between bites. So each one of these wines, we intentionally chose to give you a different perspective on what can be.
Yeah.
There's no one answer.
Right.
So
that's
what
the whole
was
deal.
your favorite?
I think my
the four.
favorite was this one
I'm gonna agree with that too.
with the luau.
I had it with the when I took the bite of the luau, I had a little bit of the squid in it that just went with that
Yes.
savoriness.
Yeah, you get that oceany.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's try another dish now. Which one?
So I was gonna go for the poi pairing, but I think I want to try.
The lomi. No.
Oh well, I was actually gonna go opposite of the sweetness
okay.
and do the butterfish.
Okay.
Okay, go.
So
So we let the butterfish marinate
we can do straight butterfish or we can dip in the chili pepper water. But I
Up
think
to you,
that's
bro.
gonna get
Whatever's best.
well.
let's dip.
Okay, let's dip.
Yeah.
Let's dip.
Okay, put all three pieces in there.
So to be clear, just to tell everybody, what is
So this is just
there.
me and my guys, from going to Helena'S, we have our own little dipping sauce. So this is chili pepper water, pa'akai, sweet onions, and a dash of shoyu,
what is pa'akai?
Hawaiian salt. I believe this one has
Yeah, right here.
eye in it. Yeah, so this is the red one. So then we just mix it. But what happens over time, over your sitting, the complexities of that changes too. So it gets a bit sweeter as you go through it. And then each of the dipping, like if you dip the rib is shoyu based. There's a little sweetness to it. You get that char flavor, it soaks in there. Similar to the butterfish, you get that char flavor kind of marinating or mingling in there.
Got it.
And all the oils and stuff in the butterfish too.
Hey, Cully, try to stick one piece for Ari.
Okay.
Because she's giving me the eye. She's feeling left out.
Not already. There's
And you
so-
cannot let divas feel left out. I'm telling you guys right now.
stew gravy. Who, bro? That thing's
Bah, mean, right?
wow. With wine number one,
I'll let you.
I want to hear what you have to say first.
I'm still trying to process it because the butterfish had like levels.
Yeah.
You know, fatty, sweet,
Yep.
oily, crispy,
Crunchy, yeah.
crunchy, and then you get that fishy flavor. This one is very aromatic, very perfumey.
Almost too perfumey for this.
Yeah.
When I first took a sip of it, it was wow because it's just cutting through everything. But yeah,
I'm not sure I like that.
excuse me. Walk us through it, Dad. Do you like that?
You tell me. Ari, right there.
Try it dipped in
Oh.
Ola's sauce.
Butterfish is unreal.
You ever try eat butterfish by itself?
No.
Oh man, that fish is honing, bro.
Yeah. Was it cod, right?
That's why they put miso and shit on top
Right.
to hide
Cut the flavor.
Yeah.
Hit that rosé.
I'm gonna try the rosé.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Huge difference.
This it's like woody now. Why?
Makes it taste different, huh?
Yeah. I got a hit of like cedar almost.
Yeah, I get that. That's pretty cool that you know.
Is it?
So, yeah,
Like right before I got a hit of like cedar.
Yeah. that's pretty cool.
What was the most interesting thing to me too was the way that the bubbles came on your palate with the chili pepper water spiciness.
Yeah.
Still, that interaction.
I bit it or I drank it after I had a little bit of onion and chili pepper water. So it was a very interesting interaction as the bubbles hit your tongue and just started.
Who's on man?
That was interesting.
How about the red wine?
And let me try that one.
There's more right there.
Oh yeah, let me bring this bad boy over here. Oh,
Yep. Throw 'em in.
you know this used to be the throwaway fish. Yeah, the color, all the rubbish bits. And somebody figured out that this thing was the most delicious part of the fish.
Yeah, even ahi, everything else, man.
Collarbones, yeah.
Machi.
Hamachi, yeah. Hamachi? Oh, about $5.
Not anymore. Collarbone expensive now.
Yeah. How much? $5.
So, what do you think, Cully? Come on, let's go.
I'm waiting for him for the Pinot.
Oh, the Pinot.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, too savory to me.
It's too it's very bold now.
Yeah.
Too alcoholic,
Yeah.
too bitter, too strong. Yeah, it's not.
Do you think that that's the chili pepper water doing that?
Yeah, absolutely. Heat. What
heat.
heat doesn't like is bitterness and alcohol. It makes alcohol
Yeah.
taste more alcoholic. Makes bitterness taste more gnarly.
It's almost like it hits a wall.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I wouldn't. If I had to pick out the three, I might go with this one so far.
Okay.
For sure.
If I had to pick out the three, so I'm gonna try this one. Are we on a time limit here?
No. Unless you are. Are you on the
No.
camera? No.
Well, I mean, we still got.
Ari feels left out. She's hungry and she's feeling like looking in the window of people eating.
Ari, come sub out for me eventually.
I like that
I'm
one.
going with that too.
Me too.
I like that one.
That's the one I put.
That one was good.
Why?
Because the chili pepper water.
Oh, you already
This thing is
Yeah.
like a breath of, it's like so refreshing your palate.
like opened it up.
yeah, man. It's like, wow.
I had
Yeah.
to go back for a second bite. That rosé with it is still pretty good too.
Yeah,
though.
Yeah.
there's no one answer.
Yeah.
It's just, but that Riesling, most people, they don't like Riesling because they think it's going to be sweet.
bro.
That's the
That's
one.
a magic
Look at his
combo right
face.
there.
Look at his face, man.
That's a combo. I took a shot of chili pepper water
Oh.
and it I like that. So it's still right here. The chili pepper water.
So this wine is from Germany, from the Pfalz region, and this is a great producer called Müller-Courtois. We couldn't get their wines for all the way up until his birth year. We couldn't get the wines in Hawaii. When you were born, 92.
Yep.
So maybe 95 we got the first time we could get Müller-Courtois. They were so hard to get. And this thing was at our field. We just bought it. How much was it? Like 17 something, yeah? 19 something.
It was like $18.
Wow.
Yeah. Cheap, bro.
Wow.
I mean, when you consider it came all the way from Germany.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it would cost like $4 just to ship a bottle. I mean, like in
More.
bulk.
Yeah.
No, I mean in bulk, you know.
That's what the shipping cost breaks down to per bottle.
More.
So ours like
Temperature controlled too. That's
That's
why.
why
Yeah.
temperature control.
wow. So like us shipping like t-shirts and stuff, we always add $1.
Yeah.
Everything. Oh, it's gonna be $1 or more. You know, if it's coming from Japan, oh my goodness,
More.
way more. Yeah, it's like $6 extra.
What?
Yeah, because we gotta go customs and duties and
I think
that
that wine is so good.
that was fantastic.
Okay, what's the next dish?
So I think we should do the poi.
Okay.
I think this is one that as interested.
With the onion and the lomi sama, or just poi by itself?
I think just the poi, the gritty rootiness of the poi.
Yeah, pour some inside here so I don't use my fork.
Right there's yours.
Oh, you get your own right there.
Okay.
Just because poi, some people say, "Oh, no more flavor." It's all, but
Hey, you get sugar
poi.
and milk.
Get flavor, poi.
Oh, no can.
No can.
No can.
That's why I bought a different kind of iced tea today. No can.
See, the poi itself has a little bit of
Tang.
tang to it.
Acidity. This is fresh poi though, huh?
It's probably 2 days, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I call that fresh.
Wine number one. Yeah.
No, it's interesting. It's like the
Yeah.
poi. It's like the poi is just like a diving board almost. Like it's just kind of flat and then not flat. Please, I didn't mean like that, but like it's kind of like tonal.
Yeah.
And then you hit this, and then you start to enhance the different levels of. I feel like this gave me more of the tones with the poi on this Riesling.
First
Oh,
one
this
is
is
the
Riesling.
Malvacia.
Oh,
Beer and Chino. Yep. With the rosé, we have this guy that comes on the podcast a lot, named Chris Ramelb. He's on the nice thing that
Oh, okay.
they called you to do.
yep.
He always talks about bubbles and starch working hand in hand.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna try it then.
And now I kind of get how that plays on your tongue.
Bubbles and starch.
Yeah, like bubbles and like strawberry soda and Simon.
Oh, wow. In fact, that's what we're missing here. Is
I
a
know.
Diamond Head strawberry soda.
You know that one of the few places I can find that. Oh, one of the few places I can find that is Ruger Market.
Wow.
Ruger Market has it.
Yeah,
That's why I go there.
That was fantastic.
yeah,
It's pretty good, huh?
The rosé with the poi.
yeah.
Wow.
I understand what Chris has been saying this whole time now.
The bubbles wasn't a huge. It wasn't a huge part of the party. You know, it was kind of like the poi toned it down. So you got an interest. You got. More, I felt like I got more of the flavor.
It's not stinging your tongue.
No, yeah, it's not stinging your
Yeah.
tongue. There you go. So I was looking for. All right, let me try this. The Merlot. Is that the Pinot?
Yeah.
Pinot.
You know.
Now is it because it's a type of grape, right?
Yep.
The only wine that's that's regional base is there one?
What?
Like champagne, you mean?
Yeah, you know, like how like whiskey and
Yeah, yeah,
scotch and is there that version of wine?
So Champagne is a specific area in France.
Okay.
Chablis is a specific area in France. So it's like saying the Kula onion. It's geographically delimited. So places from Makawa, onions from Makawa or wherever else close by on Maui cannot be called Kula onion. Same thing with wine. There's certain wines that are regional.
Okay.
There's certain wines that are named after grape varieties. There's certain wines that are named
Which
after
is what
places.
makes when you're talking about that
Right.
wall of wine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a wine is called Chablis and it's Chardonnay, but it's called Chablis.
Gotcha.
You know.
I feel like so there's no marketing going on there.
Or there's just not a clear explanation. I get super confused on
Yeah.
that until we started doing this podcast. I had the same thing, bro.
I'm like red,
yeah.
white, pink.
I was buying solely off of labels
Yeah.
and stuff as well.
So I'm the perfect candidate then because I don't know what's what.
But you have a good palate and you
Yeah, you got a good
ask,
palate.
you ask good questions too.
Thank you. I'm learning. I like nuance. I love details. And like the more odd the detail is, the more like excited I get. You know, because I feel like there's a story to tell there, or I feel like there's
More individual.
yeah, it's like something that would stand out and become its own person
Yeah.
rather than being a part of
Bro, try that
this one.
that one too.
Which one?
Riesling.
Oh, that's pretty smooth.
That is pretty smooth.
Yeah. So these two
Yeah.
did something different.
Yeah.
With the starch.
Pretty cool, huh?
Very cool.
I would have never thought to have a poi and wine pairing, but honestly.
That's pretty cool. That was pretty cool, actually. These two were
Like
I think
flavor wise, I think the Riesling flavor profile was a better pairing with the poi, but as far as texture and mouthfeel, it's the rosé. That was like super interesting.
yeah.
How everything that it did to your tongue and your mouth and stuff.
Yeah, if we're talking about nuance and individuality,
Yeah.
I would probably
But you gotta
go with this one.
you gotta make sure you understand though that it's this specific rosé. I went to that store to buy this specific rosé for today. Now, if it was foods that were pizzas, I would do a different set of wines.
Sure.
If it was something that was, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Different countries, different kind of wines.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, what's next? Are we doing the pipi kaula?
PB Kahlua or Kahlua Pig? You choose.
Let's do Kahlua Pig.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do Kahlua
Let's
Pig.
save the PP for the final.
That's dessert.
Yeah.
I whacked all that stuff already, man.
I was
I'm
watching.
past the wine and food pairing, man.
Ola and I were talking
was
by
grinding.
ourselves.
You guys can
for a
talk
little
all,
bit while
you guys
he
can
was
talk all you
grinding,
like. In fact, hey Ari, why don't you come in here and sub out for me, man? And then you could talk to these guys.
Oh, we still have Lomi salmon too.
You know, she wore that special outfit to be on the camera, you know, today.
The same jacket I wear literally every single
We should sub in at some
I
point.
had already.
Oh, you got
Yeah. Please have her sub, Cully. Cully. Please have her sub for me.
Yeah, Ari, come on in now.
Yeah.
Dad's getting stale on camera.
Exactly.
We're gonna take a quick little break. We're gonna bring Ariana, Gram Sam on to talk story.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Chuck Furia Uncorked. I am not Chuck Furia, but I am Ariana Suchia. I'm going to sub in here. Chuck is going to have his Kanak attack on the side right now because he ate too much Helena'S.
Tap out.
But anyways, I'm joining, and what are we eating right now? It's the Kahlua Pork.
Going into Kahlua Pig.
Kahlua Pig.
The Kahlua
Let's
Pig.
do 'em. Okay.
Flavor profiles is salty and fatty. Smoky.
Smoky. Chuck said pig out from the sides there.
Ad libs, huh? Dad.
He pulls them out.
You would have been a great rapper.
And now he's going to think of something.
Is there a timetable as to where you bite and the flavor leaves your mouth?
Oh, that's called finish. So like
Oh, it's a word
for
for it.
both.
Or like he's asking like how after he takes his bite, I'm assuming like how fast should he?
So for me, I usually like to, because we were talking about everyone has their own method or whatever. I actually like to take a sip of the wine before, when I'm at like actual, food and wine pairing or whatever, and they'll drop the wine off first, and then I'll take a sip of the wine so I see what it is on its own, and then I go actually in with the food and I see how it actually contrasts or changes.
Oh, I like that
Yeah.
technique. I would have known that if I.
So you get like a base coat first.
Exactly.
Eat, then take a sip. Mm-hmm. That's a good question.
For me too, like for example, I know you guys did the Riesling with that little bit of sweetness and the Butterfish earlier. For me, I grabbed that Riesling right away to refill my cup because my husband always tells me I'm a bad Korean, so I'm bad with spice. So I always like to get that little coat of sweetness before going into the Butterfish. It rounds everything out and just makes it more uplifting for me. And that way I can enjoy the complexity of what you made. Your concoction was super bomb, that's why. And I was like, oh, okay,
Bro,
now
that
it's
dipping
not just...
sauce is a game changer for
Yeah.
Helena'S, bro.
Because then it's not just spice. It's like I can taste all the levels of flavor.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what this little bit of sweetness did for me. Yeah.
You're welcome. Nah.
How was the first wine with the Kahlua Pig?
I'm not a fan.
Me neither.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It again. I mean, I don't know another.
Ariana can break down the technical side. Just say
okay.
what you think.
Yeah.
I felt like I hit a sour patch.
Oh, okay.
You know?
Yeah. I think also with this one, we're talking about like herbs and that florality and
Yeah.
all of those things. It's not necessarily the same flavor compounds that we're doing. We just said before this, smoky, salty, all these
Savory,
things.
yeah.
Savory. It's not really
Fatty,
jiving in the
yeah.
So parallel,
Yeah.
right? Cool.
Like this Kahlua Pig
great
doesn't really need
explanation.
like the squeeze of lemon.
Yes.
Yep,
essentially,
exactly.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like I love Kahlua Pig in like with like cabbage.
Oh, yeah.
So I mean, what is cabbage? Bitter.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking,
And a soaker upper kind of. Yeah.
I'm thinking that red one
Bruh.
is gonna be bomb.
I went straight to that to try it
Did you?
first just to see. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it, but I'm gonna try the rosé.
Cabbage got to be undercooked too.
I like it a little bit snappy. Yeah,
Little crunch.
little crunch.
So for me, the rosé is already moving more in that direction because it has a little bit more body
Yeah.
or a little bit more. I don't know, the other ones we did earlier was lighter proteins. So this is already getting more on that playing field for me personally.
I agree with that.
It's interesting with the bubbles. Like for a second there, I got a sensation of almost drinking a Diamond Head strawberry
Bruh.
soda, right? Because it's what you use that word like it
Yep.
uplifted it a bit. So yeah, it's interesting because that sensation, the texture, immediately, like when I take Helena'S is like one of the first places I take guests. If I take you to Helena'S, like you family, you know what I mean, you people. I always make sure that they get a Diamond Head soda for dessert
Oh, nice.
because that's
the full experience.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and also this savory, greasy, salty,
Gotta
flavorful
wash it
food.
down.
You gotta balance it out.
Oh, you do it after your.
I do it after.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because you can get the jalapeno, right? I mean, the
Yeah.
jalapeno also does. The jalapeno for me tones down the chili pepper water.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
the
yeah.
strawberry soda is like
You eat the halpia as you eat throughout your meal?
No, I always eat them last.
At the end, yeah.
That's his digestif, his nightcap at the end. I like that. Oh, that's cool.
Digestif?
Digestif. So like in the beginning when you have bubbles with champagne or something, that's an aperitif.
Yeah.
It gets your like palate going and
Yeah.
stimulates the appetite. And then at the end of the night, a lot of people like, my husband does his shot of scotch or
Sambuca.
cognac, sambuca.
Ah.
But for you, it's Diamond Head soda, which I like. I appreciate that.
What is Fernet? Like,
Fernet would be more in the digestif.
digestif.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I
Like a lot of
Fernet.
bitters, you know.
Yeah. Hold the first time I took a shot of Fernet, I was like, what?
They call that the bartender's handshake,
Oh,
actually. Yeah.
And it's funny because that is the only people that I always drink
bartenders,
Fernet with
yep.
is industry people.
Exactly.
Like back of the bar, it shuts down and everybody's like, hey, boom, everybody come, take a shot.
We all take the Fernet.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'll take a shot of
What
Fernet.
is this?
Yeah, I'm like, can I get a shot of whiskey?
Shot
please?
of Listerine or something.
Wow.
Yeah.
That means you're honorary industry then because you got our handshake down. Yep.
It's been a long time.
Moving on to the red then.
See, that's interesting because I feel like I got back that smoky flavor.
But it accents.
It enhanced it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So what I was waiting for with these was like, when am I gonna get that? When am I gonna get the
Of
hit
the
of
pig, you
smokiness
mean.
of the pig?
Yeah.
I got it back
Yeah.
here. That
Which is what you're eating the Kahlua pig for.
which is why I'm
Yeah.
eating a Kahlua pig is for that juicy,
I
smoky
think
flavor.
for me, both the rosé and the Pinot Noir kind of, Chuck always talks about the cranberry at Thanksgiving time because we have all these like savory, salty, rich foods, and sometimes you need something a little bit brighter like the rosé does to lighten everything up. You know what I mean? So for me, it's important that this is a Pinot versus a heavy Cabernet or a really heavy Merlot, something that's really thick and unctuous because it still needs a lift, right? Because if I'm at Helena'S, we're going to have a huge plate of things. I want to keep mopping. So I need a lighter style of red. So for me, this is kind of like the best of both worlds. It matches the oomph, but it's still light enough to keep going.
It is a
I like
tie
that.
between these two. Though, that you're
Yeah.
saying. Yeah. Both
Yeah.
are super
But
interesting.
we still do have a fourth.
Oh yeah, here we got one more.
Yep.
We got one more. Oh, we're moving right along now.
Without the clunker.
I feel like I'm extra like smacking and sucking just to get the flavor out so I can compare.
But as we're going along, you're trusting your palate more too, and you're.
Is that what it is?
And you have great descriptors.
Yeah, you do.
Thank you. I'm always worried about that because I have no idea what I'm doing.
Now you're opening up, or as far as like trusting what you're tasting.
If you ever have someone that makes you feel like you don't have good descriptors, then they probably don't know what they're doing either. You know what I mean? Because it's all about everyone's taste and palate is different.
like art.
So yeah, you got to just
Interpreting
trust
art.
yourself.
Yeah.
And like, why does it matter if Cully likes it and I don't like it? You just got to trust what you like. You know what I mean?
Sure. And that's where the nuance comes in, right?
Exactly.
Having conversation about that earlier.
And with art, like everyone can see a slightly different story, and that's what makes it interesting too.
The Riesling's not bad either, though.
No, it's not.
That's what's interesting, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, we kind of had three that
Yeah.
paired decent
In
with
different ways.
In different
too.
ways.
Yeah.
So for me, Riesling is always really fun. We talk about like Asian foods and the heat and things like that. But when you're talking about contrast of heat and sweetness, same thing kind of with saltiness, salinity. So this is like the sweet and salty. So it's kind of a different thing than the Pinot and the Rosé we're doing, but it works in a different like sweet and salty. That's why it's a natural flavor enhancer and things like that.
That's this last one.
The Riesling, yeah.
Was that your favorite?
I was actually more surprised by the rosé in the beginning.
Yeah, me
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, I was
Me
like,
too.
oh, okay. And then this one is like, it's like apples and oranges. I like them both, but you can only, you can eat both, but I'm not gonna pick between the two. Yeah.
If I had to pick like a complete meal, Kahlua pig, it'd probably be
The
this one.
Riesling.
Riesling.
I like that.
But like if it was just to have a good time, and if we're just poo-pooing,
Fun.
Yeah,
it'd
yeah.
probably be this.
The rosé.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Had more interesting.
And then this is more of a serious.
Yeah, this is like
Yeah.
like we're sitting in this. The light's a little dark, and we're
Yeah.
having kind
Oh,
of
it's moody.
we're
Yeah.
having like a serious
Like
conversation.
a bigger glass. Yeah.
yeah. We're talking about buying acres of land and figuring out what we're gonna do with it. Kind
Our
of deal.
pinkies are up, right? Yeah.
Okay, what's next?
We have the lomi salmon or the pipikala short rib.
So I'm very interested in the lomi salmon.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm very interested in how this works. Because this, has the saltiness of the cured salmon, the crispiness of the onions and the green onions, and then you get that like
Acid from the tomatoes.
Yeah.
I'm getting Chuck's leftovers, so there's a little bit of Kahlua Pig, a little bit of the
best,
miso
that's the
butterfish.
best.
That means it's gonna tie
True
into all the
lomi, yeah.
pairings.
That's interesting.
That herbaceousness
Spaciousness.
from. I mean, I'm assuming that's what the Malvacia is here for, right? Is to tie into that greenness of.
It's like fresh basil, right?
Yeah.
Is that the green onion?
I
Yep.
think so. Yeah. And even just the tomato and the onion in it as well.
Yeah. I was interested actually in the salmon.
Oh.
How the salmon profile with the that was kind of an interesting flavor there. I'm not mad at it actually.
I like that. Yeah.
yeah.
I think we've
ties
been
it in.
focusing on a lot of the other wines, but this is when, the beard Kino is coming back in play here.
Yeah.
Like when you need the freshness, right? Because
Yes.
this is very much about like easy drinking, first open, aromatics. And that's like the lomi salmon,
Yeah.
it's like
And I
the
feel like out of
same
everything we've
purpose.
had so far, this has the most going on
Yeah.
in your mouth.
All kinds of
All kinds of stuff. Yeah.
this way, that way, this way, that
Exactly.
way.
tying it together,
Yeah.
kind of. Yeah.
Binds it almost.
Yes.
Yeah.
1000%.
Okay, I'm trying the rosé now here.
I'm not mad at that either, though.
It's a little tricky for me with the salmon.
Yeah, the fishiness sticks out a little bit more.
Yeah.
I think it's important that it does actually have the bubbles. And I was
Yeah.
reminded just because I had to pour myself a little bit more, but it has to be that fresher style of rosé.
I think it gets back to where what we were talking about in the beginning with this rosé is it's just meant to pound.
Yeah.
Pound.
Bang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's not really a pairing, it's just meant to pound it, you know?
The
Which is-
washerbacks, yeah.
Washerbacks?
Yeah, like when you're in Miami and you're taking a whiskey shot and your chaser's a pickleback,
Oh,
like
gotcha.
it
Yeah,
just
yeah,
washes
yeah,
back
yeah,
the
yeah,
flavor.
Yeah.
She went to the U.
Oh. Descriptive Miami.
Yep.
Throw it
All
in
about
Florida.
the you. Yeah.
I mean, you could have said Vegas or.
The first time I had picklebacks were like in Miami and just like the South in general. So that's how I associate them.
So she's been studying to be a sommelier, or she is a sommelier, but she's like advancing up the ranks. And the wine that got her into wine was like 1.5 liter barefoot Shiraz from Target.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
it's
Yeah.
literally saying that like if I
Wow.
can do it, anyone can. Because that's where I started thinking about cheap college kid. Yeah, let's go chug a lug champion. Right there, like looking for the highest ABV, like the highest alcohol percentage in the store. To now, a little bit smaller batch, I guess you could say, and just
Yeah.
appreciation of it.
Nuance.
Nuance, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in that determination, and you ask yourself, okay, I'm going to do wine. And you say you were studying the alcohol content, right? Why wouldn't you just drink whiskey?
Oh, because specifically how this relates to my story is I was going on a cruise to the Bahamas in college, and they told me you can only bring one bottle of wine or beer.
Oh wow!
So I was looking for
For
the
sure.
highest alcohol
sure.
option.
Wow,
to
so
get me
that's what
through.
hooked you in is the is the highest content.
That's
of
where I
alcohol in wine.
started from. But I also have to think, I did do a study abroad to Rome, and that was not just about wine though. It was more
Culture,
about the
food.
experience of
I love
exactly.
Rome.
Yeah, it was
Oh my
the fact you can go to a
goodness.
farmer's market and they're gonna give you the freshest tomato they have, the freshest basil. You go to the next stall over, it's the freshest cheese. The next guy has a prosciutto, and you make a sandwich,
Well,
and you're
and
just
that's
like,
what their supermarkets are. Is just
Yeah.
huge, open, multi-level farmers markets.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. And just like the idea of like, in the US, we have a to-go culture where it's like, what's the easiest thing I can get on the fly? And it's like prepackaged and all these things. And it's like, no, in Italy, it's like you sit down and the wine is just as important as water at the table. You know what I mean? And you're going to talk with someone over the glass of wine and
You know
the
what I
food.
was tripping on? I went to Italy when I was like 8th or 9th grade. And what blew my mind was blood oranges and blood orange juice specifically.
We had a blood orange
Yeah.
juice machine
Yeah.
at school. I was like,
Like, this color is crazy.
yeah, it was like €1. I know the machine actually squeezes the juice for you. I was,
Fresh blood orange juice.
yeah. Because they had a tree in the front and they would just fill the machine. That was like unreal.
I love Rome.
We have to all do a Rome trip, like after all this pandemic nonsense.
We went to this restaurant. It was a kosher Italian. It was in the kosher district, but it was Italian. Mona Betta.
Oh, okay.
It had. I mean, I love oxtail. Like oxtail is like my shit.
Yeah.
I had this oxtail. It was like was basically 2 pieces of oxtail in like soup broth. It was the most phenomenal oxtail I've ever had in my life. It was so
Flavor-wise,
good.
everything.
Oh, it was just robust. It had like just round, deep, rich, savory flavors. I didn't know what I was eating. I
Yeah,
saw
You saw oxtail.
I saw oxtail. I was like, I gotta get that. Chemo had it with me. Oh my god! I keep thinking and dreaming about that dish.
Which what you just said too is making this even cooler because this is our second part of fine wines and local grinds, and Chemo was our first.
Oh.
And he was on the trip with him that inspired Chemo to want to do pizza.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
We actually ate our way through Europe. We had such.
That's the way to do it.
Where do you go for oxtail here?
Well, I've been going to Liliha, the
Yeah.
one in Ala Moana upstairs in the old Allen
Okay,
Longs,
yeah.
because it's by my house. But there's the one on Ward. It's next to. It's just that dive
Hibiscus?
across Hibiscus, like a little bit more down. I can't remember the name, but they serve Kapiolani.
Oh, like where the old flamingos used to be? Kind of near there?
No, it's on Ward.
Oh, it's onward. Okay.
Onward. It's next to the climbing. It's basically where Patagonia is now. The new Patagonia they're building. That parking lot.
Asahi.
Asahi
Yeah.
Grill. They serve the old Kapiolani. So when I was at Tory Rich, see, a lot of my growth in food was because I worked in Kalihi. And Kalihi has the
okay.
best food
Yeah.
places. The
Campbell.
Campbell is still open. And I remember my coworkers used to take me there and just heaping just handfuls of cilantro and I mean with man, I love that place.
That was like the home of oxtail.
That was the
too.
home of
Yeah.
oxtail, yeah. So I got to experience it while they were still
And
there.
you got the Andes mint at the end too. That was my favorite at Campbell.
I just that bowl of
Yeah.
of ginger and I mean you wouldn't think that thing. I mean you talk about flavors, right? The ginger and the shoyu.
yeah.
Wow, talk about that bursting. That just
That was like the liven your palate thing,
Yeah.
right? With the ginger, right? Because that's why I made
Good
it
for
like
your soul, too.
Yeah.
Oh man, I mean, and it's chunks. Like you just take your spoon and you just like boom,
Yeah.
boom, 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 man. So yeah,
Now I'm gonna crave oxtail.
oxtail was
What did
mine.
you think of the Lomi and the Pinot?
I enjoyed it. It was very bold.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's because this is more fresher, more lively
Yeah.
ingredients, more.
I think you're right on the money there because for me, although Pinot has less tannins than a lot of other red wines, it's still the tannins are a little bit more chewy.
Yeah.
You know, like when you're actually getting that mouthfeel, it's like a little bit more gritty to taste than compared to, for me, especially the Malvacia.
That's the number one to me
Yeah.
so far.
Can you explain tannins to me?
Yeah.
Molly?
So tannins are found in red wines primarily in terms of like when you are drinking, for example, like thicker skinned grapes tend to have a lot of tannins, like Cabernet Sauvignons, and like sometimes it's that grittiness that you feel right around your gum line on your teeth.
Pucker power.
The pucker power. Yeah. And it also can be perceived as bitterness sometimes too.
Interesting. Chuck was talking about lychee.
Yeah.
And when I eat, one of the things I don't like about lychee is that
When you get too close to the seed.
is that what it is?
Yeah.
It's just that sensation of like,
Oh, okay.
what is that? Is that
You might
That's
be talking
gotta
about like
be
the pithy
Yeah.
quality of it. That might
But
be.
when you get too close to it, or in some, I don't know about. It's not every lychee you bite into.
That's
but
the
you
bitterness,
Get some
yeah.
kind of bitter tanniness.
yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
It's like the same thing if you have your coffee super black, if you have like really strong like matcha green tea, it's that same element
Yeah.
of bitterness.
espresso.
Yeah, exactly.
espresso in Italy?
Yeah. Whole nother level.
Oh, for like
Are you
a
a coffee
whole
drinker?
Yeah, I mean I drink black coffee. Yeah, I pour over myself, but like for like a good month and a half after I got back, I couldn't drink normal coffee. I had to have shots.
Espresso.
Yeah. I mean, because you just walking, boom, pop into a,
Yeah.
boom, stand
And
up.
it's like the best one
shots.
you go ever, and then
Next, like 20 minutes later, I'm gonna have another shot of. It's just like nonstop. What do you think about this last one? Yeah,
That was not the best one to me. Like that was it made it taste really fishy.
yes,
The salmon tastes super fishy actually to me. So to me, what tied it all together was
yeah,
the Bianchino.
yeah. I agree.
Again, with that, there's just so much going on in lomi salmon. This is the first time like really sitting down and like dissecting lomi salmon. I mean, and first time ever pairing it with wine, but I never paid attention to how complex lomi salmon really is with everything like between the tomatoes.
Yeah, there's
the
a lot
onion-
going
and tomatoes are a pretty powerful taste
On its own.
On its own, onions are obviously pretty powerful. Salmon is
When you cure it that way, right? It's
Yeah.
very pungent. Yeah,
so this tied it all in
yeah.
the most.
Yeah, It like binded it, and so
Yeah.
there was a nice even tone.
Yeah.
I
nice
agree.
to see the Bianchino back in the game. Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
And this is where it plays is this kind of stuff, right? Fish and herbs. And
Yep.
Very
Exactly.
interesting. And so like the last couple, like so we had it with the poi, which is very starchy,
Yeah.
which felt really good with the bouncing of the
Yeah.
tongues, and then this sort of needed something to pare it down.
to bring it back down to,
Yeah, so like this enhanced this,
Yeah.
this toned it down.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, I love green onions and things like that, like those green flavors. So the Bianchino added that back into me. Like it highlighted it, you know? So that's what I liked about that one too.
It's crazy that we're having 4 wines, right? And it's all like we're going through each flavor of food and it's reacting differently
Yeah.
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 as we cycle through it.
And even like, we said, I forget what we were tasting, but 3 of the wines paired well, but we kind of all had our own favorite among those 3.
Yeah.
So it's like what you were talking about with interpretation. Of,
And it changes with each of the different dishes, right? Yeah. The role, I guess, the wines play are all different, which is really, really neat.
Wow.
So I did see what it tastes like with the
The
main.
So this is it.
the entree.
This is it. So we're doing it
I've
with
been marinating
yeah.
this guy
Even I
right
seen
there.
that thing in there. So
I'm gonna.
gonna drop this in a little bit. So I want to try have one with marinade and without
Yeah.
the extra sauce. And these taste completely different when you sit down and you get that crispy hot. Like when you get it hot
Yeah.
and oily, though it just the oil just those pockets of oil burst in your mouth.
Well, I think we're sitting in the chili pepper for like 25 minutes.
Really?
Yeah.
See, like this not in there.
Yeah.
It tastes like pipi kaula.
Yeah.
Like it still has some grizzle and oiliness, but not as it doesn't pop like when you have that sitting in there, soaking.
That is just adding tons of layers. Like,
For me, right off the bat, I have the plain one right now, and I'm gravitating towards the Pinot Noir again. For
The
me,
bold.
yeah, a little bit more of the bold. It's kind of like that, like naked smoked meat flavor,
Yeah.
like grilly flavor, enhanced with like the red wine, but it still like has like the savoriness in both of them. I think that's
It also
that's
with
my
this one.
favorite.
It also has some sweetness too.
Yeah,
The sweetness isn't as enhanced as when it's in the chili pepper water.
I actually do like the rosé too. As that cranberry,
yep.
like refresher, like, you know.
That spritz.
Yeah.
Wow, that thing just does that texture, huh?
For me, with the excuse me, with the short rib, that's where it just reminded me most of a Diamond Head soda was right now.
Oh,
Yeah, that's how it was with the was it that one or was it the? Can't remember if it was the Butterfish or the.
Butterfish.
What? the
Butterfish,
Butterfish,
yeah.
yeah.
Because that's a texture thing too,
Oh.
right? Yeah.
All the professionals out there must think that we're. What are you guys doing?
Bro,
never
Ari
mind
drinks
them.
Ari drinks champagne with Popeyes.
Sick. I love it.
Yeah.
And,
That's very true.
I just tried what's that new one on University?
Canes.
Canes. It's kind of interesting, like fast food chicken.
Yeah?
You know? Yeah, it's actually not dry, and I hate chicken that's not on the bone.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, because it's it's tenders. Yeah.
Yeah.
To me, the Pinot is a little bit too bold.
For me, the
Still.
Pinot with the, it's funny because I said the Pinot is what I was gravitating towards with the naked one, no sauce. And now that's my least favorite one with the marinade. So I'm, you know me, I'm kind of going back towards that Riesling route because I think it enhances the complexity of the sauce because it's kind of like rounding out the edges and everything. But the rosé, like you said, kind of works the best with both of them.
I'm gonna go. I'm doing the no marinade, and I'm going to the rosé. The Riesling it almost overpowers the PP Kahlua. To me, the rosé is just like, again,
Right
that
in the middle.
gulpability.
Yeah. Wash
Like,
it back.
Yeah. The bubbles. It's that fizz from, like we said, a Diamond Head strawberry soda. That's the thing that I keep going back to with even without the marinade. I
Yeah.
figured with the marinade it was gonna be too hard to pair anyway. Just plain by itself, I think it's rosé.
Interesting. I actually like this one
Yeah.
You know,
with the marinade,
Cool.
but without the marinade, I like this one.
Yeah.
This is the
the beer, beer
Riesling.
Pinot?
Riesling.
Oh, the Riesling.
This is
I
the
see.
Riesling. Yeah, interesting because I think it's that like that tough cowboy meat kind, like beef jerky.
Yeah.
And then you get a little bit of sweetness with
Yeah.
this one.
The
This one-
contrast element. Yeah.
the contrast element.
I thought actually from memory, I haven't eaten Helena'S in like maybe a couple months, but I actually thought it was gonna be Riesling all the way. But it's not as sweet as like a teriyaki steak or
No.
something. You know?
It's not
No.
because I'm not a big fan of teriyaki because people do it way too sweet.
Way too sweet.
Yeah.
And there's so many different types now too. It's hard to get like quality good all the time. Like Terry burgers. You and your dad went all over for
I
a good
love
Terry
Terry
burger.
burgers. So
But
Where's
it's
your
hard to
favorite?
find your favorite.
we went all over the island tasting Terry burgers, and it's Shige's
Shige's.
in Wahiwa. Yeah.
Oh, I haven't gone that. Hey, bro.
Wow, that place is pretty major. Yeah.
Papa Kurtz makes a Terry burger.
It was pre Papa Kurtz.
So you guys gotta try it then.
So we're excited to try. He actually wrote an article for the newspaper about
Oh yeah?
Terry burgers.
About Terry burgers?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like all about Terry burgers. That's his like whole spiel is Terry burgers, which should be an episode on its own, honestly.
So mandatory lettuce, tomato.
1000%.
Yeah.
And like it's got to be iceberg lettuce, like
Yes.
crunchy.
Yes.
It's got to have that crispiness.
The clean, yeah.
Like the spine of the
Yeah.
iceberg lettuce.
So when you bite into it, it like fractures.
Yeah.
yeah. I
Yeah.
agree. I
It's
agree.
like that snap and like celery, you know? You just want that
Yeah.
But I think your dad also enjoyed Seven Brothers
in North Shore.
on North Shore too.
That's a new. I just saw it a couple weeks ago. I was out there. I was wondering, 7 brothers. Is that like 5 brothers? But
Oh, the Five Guys.
oh, 5 guys. Yeah. I was just making an observation call.
Bro, and actually, I kind of made a breakthrough too. So the thing that was holding it, like I really like K&K Barbecue, which is out here in Kailua. It's just a drive-in. But what's inconsistent about it is how they cook the patty. Like it's based on whoever's in the kitchen it's gonna taste different.
Yeah.
So now my order is charred medium well.
Oh, charred medium
Yeah.
well.
So that you still get, because you want that char. Sometimes they just put it on the grill real quick and take it off.
Yeah.
You want that. So that's my jam.
That's funny. You mentioned that because when I go to Rainbows, I get the terry beef, or not the terry beef, but the barbecue beef plate.
Yeah.
Well done. Because I need that char.
You need the char.
If not, it's whack.
No, yeah.
You know what I mean? You need
Because
that.
then everything's mushy. There's no
Yeah.
texture. Yeah.
And then they like to you gotta tell them not to put sauce on it.
Yeah.
Not
because they
lather.
whack it.
Oh, because
Yeah.
they just you tell them
the ladle.
you get the
true.
plate, you grab the plate, and the plate's all like this.
Yeah.
It's like a sandwich in your hand because it's so heavy with sauce.
So what do you think was your favorite standout for wine and food pairing of the night? Like the most eye-opening or go-to favorite, I'm going to hit that one again next time, or
So it's probably come as a surprise, or maybe not a surprise if you're watching it. I enjoyed the Butterfish and the rosé.
rosé.
I enjoyed the poi and the rosé.
Oh, okay.
Just I never would have thought to ever do a poi and wine tasting, and all these guys talk about starch and bubbles all the time, and that was
That was a close second, yeah.
Yeah.
but everything. I mean, this food
This
is
is
so
fun,
good,
man.
yeah.
This is fun.
But so if we're not dissecting it solely like this, and you're actually going and eating, or you're ordering takeout, what is the wine that you want to? Like the go to that will kind of
Pair with everything.
Yeah.
I think from what we're hearing was the rosé, but specifically lighter and specifically that slight effervescence, just to keep it gulpable, right? Keep,
Wash it
so you can
back.
pound.
Because there's so much going on in flavor. You just want something to wash everything down. essentially.
Exactly.
And we want it ice cold.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. On
In
ice
those foam
right there.
cups.
Yeah,
too.
yeah. Ice cold foam cups.
I think so. I think that's the move. I agree. I think I knew that the Riesling was gonna go for me with the Butterfish and things like that, but I think I agree in the sense that the rosé was it ties everything in. If I had to pick one, it works with the heavy proteins and the lighter proteins. So I thought that was interesting.
My second would be this one.
The beer and chin, yeah,
Oh yeah,
for sure.
Because this kind of went with
the lomi salmon and
kind of
the-
everything had. It was like the most consistent overall flavor profile.
What I was pretty surprised of is that the Pinot still wasn't terrible.
wasn't awful.
No.
Yeah.
I thought
In
this
a
was
couple of
gonna-
dishes, it was like
the
whoa.
one? Yeah.
No, but you could also see too. I think it was a smart choice for Chuck to pick in the sense that it's the 1 or 2 red wines that would actually work, because everything else is super full body. It's gonna probably blow out our palates going into the chili pepper water and the
Yeah.
lomi salmon. So it was kind of smart choices all around to keep us moving.
Yeah. Everything shined.
Yeah, exactly.
Had
Everything
its
had its moment.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yee, I love this
very
one.
Cool.
Right
What
on, Bob.
an
Yeah.
interesting what an interesting experience.
Yeah, it was super dope to learn about Hawaiian food and wine, because no one's doing that.
With the guy
No one-
that's showing us the
yeah,
dipping sauce.
exactly.
and-
How to do it.
bro, that's
Yeah.
a game changer for me.
Helena's. So when I see people Instagram Helena's, but they know more, I'm like, that's not.
You don't know. You don't know.
Gotta, the whole experience.
Yeah.
So when I go, I've been going there for a long time. Craig's been a friend over the years, and when I go in, Shai always has my bowl onion and my bowl chili pepper water ready.
Nice.
Yeah. So she kind of knows already how we roll.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I want to say thank you for coming on the podcast this evening, Ba, and giving us your time. You asked really good questions, and you dropped a lot of knowledge for
You're a
us
great
as
storyteller, and I think it
Yeah.
translates to the wine and food.
Well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. This is fantastic. I wasn't sure how I was gonna perform, You know,
Yeah.
I can talk story though, so
Yeah.
I kind of knew
That's
I
the
could.
main thing
I
you
could
need
bullshit
for
my way
wine.
through
Yeah.
it.
And as you get a couple sips in, you
Yeah.
see, you know, you get a little loosened up, and where everyone's feeling the room. And
Yeah.
thank you for giving us your time, though. To everybody, we hope that this was a great episode. I mean, I think it really broke down food and wine in a way that's
Relatable.
yeah. I mean, that's what we set out to do, is to be able to demystify this world for our average people like me. I mean, it's how I'm learning every week with this thing. And Ola also just opened up a pizza thing called Ili Ili Cash Carry, so hopefully we can have that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll check
bring
that
some
out
pizza
next
next time.
time. Perfect.
Yeah.
That's segue.
Right on, but I appreciate
Cool.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ola.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
so
Thank
much,
you.
Uncle. Fantastic stories. Thank
Right
you.
on. You guys catch us next week.
Mahalo, everyone.
Thank you. Aloha.